Okay, so I can imagine. I just said that we're going to be a small group today, right? So many people from the US co-op, I think, will be busy with the annual meeting today.
Yes, that's
What
right.
about you, Nick? Are you going there later, or what's the plan? When does it start?
Well, I'm in the UK, so
Oh, I'm
no,
sorry.
no, that's no problem.
Oh, terribly
No,
sorry.
so no
Okay,
problem, no problem. So I think yeah, they must be getting ready for that.
right.
So
Okay.
that'll be interesting listening into that later. I think it's at what time CET? I'm not sure what time CET it is, but later this evening, isn't it, that it starts?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
probably. Yeah, yeah.
So I'm listening for that one. That could be interesting, given the given some of the stress that there's been in the past few days. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll listen to see what happens with that one. But yeah, I was talking to Steve yesterday. We had our meeting on the expression of wish and digital democracy, which is quite interesting. And there's been quite a few follow-ups on Discord as well, which have been quite good.
Yeah,
Um,
I've seen that. Yeah.
yeah, but otherwise, no. You have a Andreas is going to a W3C meeting. Is that right in
Exactly,
Berlin?
exactly. Yeah,
Okay,
and Andreas is there.
okay.
Also Tim is there.
Oh,
So
right.
we have a bunch of people at the conference, which is really nice because then we can
Yeah,
yeah, we just have the chance to recruit some more
yeah.
speakers for the RChain Europe meetup in November.
Exactly. Yes, that would
Yeah,
be good. So the RChain meetup is in Berlin again, is it?
exactly.
Yeah.
It's November 23rd to
Yeah.
25th, and
Okay.
we just had a meetup with our group, a Zoom call where we just updated ourselves where we stand, and it's going to be a meetup on Friday. So we
Yeah.
expect a bunch of speakers talking about concrete governance projects,
Hmm.
and we also hope to yeah, see you there, and
Yeah.
Steve, of
Well, that would
course.
be good if I can get across. I'd love to. I'd love to come
Yeah,
along.
yeah,
Yeah.
that would be amazing. It would be really good to have you there,
Yeah. Yeah.
because that would be a great opportunity to just continue our governance discussion and see how we can push this forward. Because
Yes.
the meetup will be followed by a 2-day hackathon
Yeah.
on Saturday and Sunday, and so this will really provide us enough time and space
Yeah.
to look into all the stuff we want to tackle.
Exactly. Now that would be good. I think. I mean, I mean, the theme of. Is there a particular theme for the meetup? Is it about social and network cooperative?
Yeah. So I
Is in terms of use cases? Are you? Is that where you're thinking? Where you think most of the people will be
yeah,
coming to? I think that's a strong area. I think for RChain Europe to be in, particularly.
absolutely. I mean, that's where we will certainly recruit some people from that domain. But we are running this event together with a team of InBlockio, so they have a rather close contact to the developers, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's a twofold thing. So on the
Yeah.
one hand, we will just make sure that there will be a Roland workshop. So we'll also have people from the US co-op coming
Yeah.
over and helping with that. And also, we would like to just test some alternative bounty systems in this hackathon, and
Oh, okay.
prototype a little bit with incentive systems. I think
Yeah.
this could be interesting as well. But then we'll have enough space and opportunity to also talk about the future of the EU co-op and what it actually is that we want to
Yeah.
pursue in the future. And
I'd
it's
be
just an opportunity to sit with people and talk about future agenda.
yeah, I'd be really interested in working out, if you like, what the growth strategy is, for the
Yeah,
Europe
yeah,
co-op, and to how you plan to attract consumers onto the platform, what type of consumers, what segments and use cases you might go for, and
yeah,
how we if you like, get some critical mass on the platform.
exactly.
Because in some ways, RChain doesn't really make any sense unless you have big volume on there, unless you've got that on. I know Greg has the idea to use the music industry as a case, but I think there's probably in Europe there's maybe an alternative strategy which we could employ in parallel to reach more community groups. I've done some work in the UK on use cases with social currencies in particular.
Yeah.
Social, with things like charities and street newspapers, and they've been quite interesting. So, an alternative approach to growing critical mass, but again from the ground up and using community groups might be another complementary approach.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is already the field we're working in, and I think that apart from the music sector, there's a huge interest in digital democracy. And,
exactly.
Especially here, within the communities we are already working with, because apart from RChain Europe, we also run Supermarket. And Supermarket has been a community platform since 8 years now. So we are exactly working at the intersection of digital culture, collaborative economies, and digital democracy. So these are really the domains we are.
It's really a good time to to try and push that forward, because as you know, in Europe, we have a number of like democratic catastrophes.
Excuse me, can I ask, Greg, can I ask to mute your mic, please? Everyone who is not speaking, please make sure to mute your mic.
I do this all the time. You do this all the time to me.
Doesn't hear me. Please mute your mics. Makes it so much easier for all of us.
Don't worry, I can hear you fine. We'll just talk over the man.
Okay.
Pump up the volume. Yeah. So
but basically, but this is what we are hoping to achieve, right? Yes. And in that sense, I think RChain Europe already can be very interesting as a platform that gathers people around these topics, and that produces knowledge and content around these topics. Yeah. And this is actually what we've started to do at a very basic level, but we are already moving in that direction as a team. So I
think it would be good to do some. I mean, I was talking to Andreas about platform strategies. I've done some work in my outfit, Social Market Technology Network, on how you grow a platform. What are the strategies you do for that? How you attract critical mass, how you make it a meeting place, how you make it a center of gravity for people. What are the things you need to do? What sort of controls do you need to have in place? What are the things which are going to attract people to it? And when you've got them there, what's going to make them want to stay? So the learnings from some of the big centralized platforms, YouTube, from holiday cooperatives, not cooperatives, but Airbnb and others, that sort of stuff, the learnings from those, and then converting that to a social market context, I think could be pretty good. There's a lot of stuff that you can do there, and there's approaches for working out a strategy for it. So it would be good to look at what is that potential market, and who are the groups that we could attract, how do they overlap in terms of consumer demographics, and how would you actually reach them without having to spend a ridiculous amount of advertising money or resources of that sort? How can you grow that thing organically, but in a more organized way?
That's right.
Is it possible to join the conversation?
Oh yeah, yes. Sorry.
That's the idea.
We weren't sure whether in or out there. Grace, we'll shut up now.
No. It's totally fine. I wasn't able to find a natural flow in the conversation.
No, that's me, Hossin.
That's Nick's gift to the world.
No, it's totally fine. It's totally. But Nick, I heard you mention sort of a couple of different approaches. I think you were contrasting an approach with respect to music versus something else, and I wasn't able to catch that part of the conversation because I was
just saying it's a parallel strategy. I think it's saying if you're trying to grow the platform, you might choose different industries and different platforms, but you need to understand how the demographic of the audiences might overlap. So, I mean, I know you've got some artists it's really good to know which artists are those who are going to be attracting volume, and what their demographic is, and what else they may be interacting with. Is there maybe some social causes, social projects, or something that those artists support and represent? If we linked into those, let's how could we, basically, because a platform, a multi-sided platform, makes sense if you've got many overlapping pieces of value on the platform. That's the thing which attracts people to it. It has to be a great user experience, great UX, and all that sort of stuff. But it's where people find there's people alongside them who are people that they want to talk to and potentially transact with, and that they have a sense of trust in. So if you can start to map those things and then have a strategy to attract the right sort of people to that platform, then you can sort of get the network effect. Things start to grow. People come to the platform organically, and some of it's trial and error, but increasingly I think there's a lot which is from people like Airbnb and all those big guys who've made all of the mistakes all the way along. And there's a lot of stuff which has been done both academically, and it's not just a commercial perspective. It's not just sort of like marketplace. It's also, I think, a social marketplace thing, where who are the people who think in certain ways? What do they want to do? How do they want to collaborate? So it's that type of thing. I think there's ways of doing that. Complementary.
No, I absolutely agree. And in fact, this is kind of what I've been suggesting all along, is that if you want to find these kind of nodal points, or right. So in the case of the artists, right. So I absolutely agree that knowing their demographics helps a great deal, because it helps us find the next nodal points, so to speak.
Exactly.
So yes, we're very well aware of that, and in fact, the plan that I have been following since I laid it out in around 2009, 2010, was to go after each of the different cultures where there is this kind of I don't like to use the word celebrity or personality, but you know what I'm saying. That So
well, it's a culture of trust, isn't it? That it's not just celebrity. There is something behind that. There's who do you trust?
Right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Collective trust.
That's exactly right. And so in a sim, and I think I think part of the approach here is to use each of our particular networks. So, for example, one of the reasons that I know I can get stuff done in the music communities is because I am a part of those music communities, and I know the people personally. And I have a network of people who are also a part of larger music communities, and they know people personally. And as a result, we know that we can be in control of our destiny, so to speak. We don't have to depend upon the organic nature of this in order to seed the network. Similarly, I know scientists, mathematicians, computer scientists, and logicians personally, right? So I know several fellows of the Royal Society. I personally know Turing Award winners. I've personally, hung out with Fields medalists, and so these people who are in my network that I can bring and get those communities going as well. And I think that each one of us should be looking to that kind of strategy, where as a part of this process, who are the thought leaders, the movers, the shakers, the people who do have trust, and what is it about the RChain proposition that enables them to get to align their interests and thereby bring the people who trust them.
Exactly, correct. There's another thing you need to do there. It's when you've identified those potential communities, those clusters, if you can characterize them, you know what they are, the way they think. But then if you look at them and you look at what they look for, what they value, and how they might interact and exchange with other groups on the platform. Yeah. And then you look at providing services on the platform, attracting services on the platform which help them transact with each other. That's how, if you like, you grow. That's how you help them, not just to sort of come together and have a nice chat. You know, they actually get value then out of the platform by having a trusted place where they can engage and transact. But you have to know, as the, if you like, the platform owner, you know, what enough about those different communities, and then how they might interact with each other. What are their pain points? What would they get value from? Who's got something which might solve their pain? That sort of thing. So it's doing that analysis, you know, matrix type stuff.
Okay, Greg, I'm sorry. I just needed to mute your mic because we've had some, oh, wow. We've had a lot of background noise. So in case you just want to respond to that, I'm just bringing your sound back. Oops, no. Where is he? Okay. And if not, oh yeah. Greg,
Yeah,
you want to respond to that? Otherwise, I'm just muting your mic.
I was all I was saying was that we did that kind of market analysis back in 2009, 2010 as a part of the first iteration of the architecture for this project. So of course it always has to be updated and we have to track the different trends. But one of the things that I can say that seems to resonate across a number of communities, and in my opinion is going to be growing in terms of its resonance, is this focus on coordination so that we can begin to modify our behaviors in a way that makes it possible to avoid some of the more intense climatary crises. Agree. I mean that like, for example, I mean, you know, I know John Baez through Mike Stay, and John has redirected his career, and so he's one of the most preeminent mathematical physicists of his generation, and he didn't have to sort of redirect his career towards climate science, but he felt it was the only responsible thing to do. And I know so many people in the scientific community and many entertainers and educators who are beginning to make similar choices because the writing is on the wall for anyone who's willing to read it.
Yeah, exactly. And previous attempts there in the marketplace of things like trading carbon credits and carbon tokens in Europe, those initiatives failed. Something needs to be brought back so that people are aware there is a mechanism in the market which discourages people from behaving badly. So I think governments will be very interested as well as the ground up things. Governments doing solutions which do that at scale.
I'm sorry. Let me.
Sorry.
I just want to jump in here because as interesting as this conversation is, I just want to make sure that we also hear some other voices too, and that we kind of follow the agenda. And we do have a little bit of a time constraint because I know that Rashid is going to leave at 5:30 since he's conducting an interview with Nathan Schneider for our blog. And we are very excited about that. But first of all, I was thinking it would be really good to hear Steve and Rashid about the progress of the Expression of Wish workgroup this week. So I just want to invite you to give us an overview of where we stand. And Greg, I'm sorry, I have to mute your mic because that's much better. Okay.
So if I kick off, and Rashid, if you want to then chip in, and I'll leave a gap for you, honest. With a bit of help from Nick and a bit of help from Rashid, and a bit of help from the guys that attended the call yesterday, we've kicked off what we're calling the Expression of Wish Working Group with a draft charter that we've circulated and a form that allows us to shape the agenda over time based on the needs and the wishes of those that want to join those calls and that have some stake in the working group. So we've kicked that off. There is an agenda and a set of minutes. I'm just about, oddly enough, they're going to be in GitHub, but they're also going to be available in Google Docs, so you can use whichever mechanism, and I'll keep them up to date. And we've got this online form as well to help drive that stuff. And that's kind of where we are. We're sort of, I think, getting ready to crack on and understand what the requirements need to be, both from a technical perspective, without ignoring, very importantly, without ignoring all of those people aspects, because any sort of platform for governance, expression of wish, digital democracy, call it what you will, is completely pointless if nobody uses it. So we have to pay attention to people and how they wish to go about organizing themselves, and use RChain to help support that. So that's kind of where we are. I will be issuing the charter, which is still being worked upon by various people, and giving people access to the agenda and the minutes, so you can see the form and everything. And I will be sending it to RChain Europe. I will be putting it on Discord, and so you'll all get a chance to have a look and contribute as you wish. So
okay,
that's I think a summary of where we are.
Okay, fantastic. I've also included the minutes already in the agenda document, so
Jolly good.
people have direct access to it. Rashid, is there anything you would like to add from your perspective?
Just from my perspective, it's been really great with this group, finding ways to use the technology that we have that we know is already flawed, but still find ways to work together and make our time together productive. And for me, that's really promising at the moment.
Okay, fantastic. So next Tuesday, the next call, and how is it for you if there are more people joining? Do you find that complicated, or does it?
No, I think it's important at this stage, because we've kind of gone back to the charter. Why is this working group formed? And in that charter, there's a deadline, right? So the deadline is 2 months before the AGM next year, right? We have to have a platform up and ready and running. But we also need to make sure that best practices are covered, which relate to how people may use it, what suggestions we have for how they self-organize, in order to their wish is expressed, which is why we call it an expression of wish. So I think that the more diverse, to some extent, right now, the better, because we're going to be requirements gathering largely. But those requirements, as I say, very important. They're not just related to the technology, they're related to people that may need to use technology. And that people side is really important. So the more diverse the group is, so other co-ops or organizations, whoever they may be, the better. Because then we can, our aim is to try and balance what does get produced ultimately to serve the community. That's the point of the working group ultimately. So yeah, so bring it on. I've posted the same on the governance channel on Discord, and I'll do the same. So I'm making sure that everything's there. Yeah.
Exactly. No, because I was really wondering, because it seemed to me that with this also this shift in facilitation, that you are basically allowing for bringing more people into the discussion. And I think this is really a good moment to, since I just see, I think Diana just put here in the chat, the broader the stakeholder group, the better the product. And I think that's it's a very valid point. So I was even thinking of, to what extent you would feel ready to reach out to particular people that you haven't thought of before, but would be nice to maybe have them also as someone just to give feedback, whatever, because maybe we can also help with that and make sure that this is getting more and more diverse.
When the next agenda gets set, which will be fairly soon, and it will go out sort of like hopefully on Friday. When I send that out, so that, you know, I mean, you'll get it as an email as well, Ayla. But, you know, any of you on this call that get that, I have absolutely no issue, and I don't think any of us would, with you sending that to whoever you see fit. So I'll just use all of you as a network to gather, you know, wider interests.
That would actually be really good, because, you know, that would also maybe bridge our preparations to the November meetup and hackathon in Berlin.
Yes.
Which RChain Europe will be hosting, because you know, since we are all talking to practitioners from the field of distributed governance and digital democracy platforms here in Europe, we can already start to tie them into the conversation by inviting them to these Tuesday calls. And we are now addressing people whether they want to talk at the event or whether they want to host a workshop during the hackathon. So that would be like a really nice way of maybe even taking parts of that and developing an agenda for that. So in that sense, that would be really helpful also for our preparations for the meetup and the hackathon. So thanks a lot, Steve.
Just one last thing, Ayla, that it's just an observation, and I think it's an important one. And I think this is kind of why Rashid said what he did a couple of meetings ago, and Nick supported him. And I kind of had that come to Jesus moment where I realized that what we're trying to do is we're trying to behave in the way that we want this digital democracy kind of platform to help us. So we don't have a platform today. So, but we're trying, but the whole process of trying to figure out how to work together is absolutely an essential input into figuring out what we need in the future. You know, and the one thing that I think we can be sure of is that as this group grows, there will be challenges because of its scale. And that because of its scale issue is one of the issues I think we want our digital democracy platform to solve. Right? Because without that, you know, we want to remove geographic boundaries, and we want to remove problems in the number of people that wish to contribute. We want to encourage contributions from as wide, you know, this is scale. This is RChain, it's what it's built for. So we want to, so that's kind of just an observation as to why we've done this, and why, looking back, I think that it was an incredibly insightful move. Rashid, I'm going to congratulate you now, by Rashid to raise it. And Nick to immediately come in on that call and say, yes, we need to do it this way. Absolutely, I can completely see that. I'm just a little slower than some.
Yeah, and you know,
say I'm older than most, but Nick's actually older than me.
Thanks for disclosing that, Steve. But you know, I appreciate that, because I think in general there's a lot to learn from, and I wonder, you know, since you are in this process, I mean, many of us communicate via Zoom. A lot of work groups are organized via Zoom, and I can imagine that issues are pretty much the same. So as I told last time, we are currently working on a communication format for the social media and the blog that we call Learning Journey. And this is definitely one of the things I would say that maybe in a couple of weeks' time to wrap up the experience so far, and to just make sure that all the learnings can be shared with everyone else in the RChain ecosystem, because there's a lot to draw from and a lot to adapt for other work groups, I guess. So for me, as I said, I'm currently working on this, on an initial blog post that is really about forming and shaping the organization, like the entire founding process of, you know, founding a blockchain related cooperative here in Germany, or maybe that also goes for other European countries, and what that entails. So there's so much to share, and I think that would also help in knowledge and capacity building. So I feel this is a very important aspect of it. So thanks for that. It's very exciting. So as I said before, we are currently preparing the meetup and the hackathon here in Berlin. It's November 23rd through November 25th. So it's basically 3 days First day will be a meetup, and we are currently inviting different speakers that are able to contribute to the distributed governance topics. And we really make sure that we'll get mostly practitioners on board, so people that that are already working on these projects, but also people that could become potential partners. And I was just wondering, who of you is planning to be in Berlin or in Europe during that time? Please let us know, because we already know from some people from the US Co-op that already offered help for the hackathon, running a workshop, just making sure to be there and supporting the event. So whoever will be here is very much invited to join us. Just mentioning that. Oh, Jonathan says, greetings from Singapore. Hi, Jonathan. Thanks for being here.
And we've contacted some people that we're partnering with here in Singapore called Longhash, and they're going to be in Berlin. They're actually setting up a WeWork type facility in Berlin to supplement their facilities in Dubai, Tokyo, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Beijing, I believe. And they want to meet you and discuss doing hackathons as well.
Yeah, fantastic. Jonathan, it would be amazing if you could put us in touch. And Jonathan, we should also talk. We should also identify a moment when we and Roar maybe exchange a little bit our experiences so far. But we'll do that in a separate call. I just wanted to mention it. It's really nice to have you here.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Okay. So coming back to the hackathon and the meetup that we are planning. So for us, it will be like it will be the opportunity to really say hi to everyone, not only in Berlin, of course, but like also in the neighboring countries, to just give an official statement that we're here and that we are ready to partner up with people. So whatever comes to your mind in terms of content or physical participation is very much welcome. Just let us know. And we will have a first draft of the program ready by next week. We're currently finalizing speaker commitments and also working on the structure of the hackathon, but we'll be able to share that for next week's call, next Wednesday, so we can really focus a little bit deeper on the preparation for that event and tap on also on your knowledge and ideas, and to really get something interesting together. So just looking at the agenda, what else did we want to talk about? Just to give you a very brief overview about conferences and communication and networking that is going on. So Stephen went to a conference in Slovenia and presented RChain Europe there. And Stephen, would you maybe like to share some of your findings from that conference?
Sure. One of the big things that I found that Slovenia is really, really interested in blockchain. They have blockchain things everywhere. They had the little grocery store that I was right next to with my hotel could accept Bitcoin, only Bitcoin, but they could still accept Bitcoin for payments, which I thought was strange. The hotel didn't, but the little grocery store did. The event itself was very rushed. There were a lot of people that were trying to speak very, very quickly, so I didn't have as much time to do the presentation as well as I would have liked. But that's okay. I think that for the next one, I can be better. I got some pretty decent context with that, and now I'm coming back through Bolzano and meeting up with people that are in the blockchain community here. Altogether, it's been a pretty good week. I guess I'm not entirely sure what you're looking for me to say.
No, that's fine.
Stephen, it's Steve here. Quick question for you.
Sure.
So, would it be possible, do you think, for you to, so whatever presentation you gave, could you sort of record yourself doing it? Because that might be a really good little blog post, and then it kind of shares what you were saying, so that we're all sort of on message.
I could do that, because what the whole presentation was, it was supposed to be related to sustainability development goals of the United Nations. And so we put together, Ellie and I put this presentation together saying that the platform itself is proof of work, and so it, or proof of stake, so it uses less power, and that's cool. But what the big thing that RChain does is it facilitates a bunch of different platforms that work and projects that work directly towards solving or addressing sustainable development goals. The most obvious of which is like Switch, who wants to have less CO2 emissions, and they have a platform to demonstrate that. So I'm happy to do to record it at some point, and it would give me a great way to practice so that I could be better at it, doing it live too. So I like that idea. Yeah, I could do that.
Absolutely. And you know, I think Steve has a reason why he mentions that, because I know Steve has been giving a fantastic talk at the meetup in London, right? But then for whatever reason it wasn't properly recorded or anything. But then we don't have it. And, you know, we also felt it's really a pity, because we should, I absolutely second that. We should make sure to record our talks and learn from that and help each other to create really good presentation material. And Stephen, we also talked about that, right? So I'll have the conference on Friday in Saarbrücken, where I'm invited. And I'm currently putting together some slides, but I also realized that this is quite a task, because there is probably not a standard pitch deck, but we rather need different perspectives and angles depending on where we're speaking. But I think I just will put up a shared folder where we can store those presentations and make sure that we have a pool of interesting slides and stories to tell, because we'll need much more of them in the future. And Leah, since you're just mentioning that in the chat, I'll make sure to record my presentation on Friday, and then we might use that as a blog post as well. So I will basically be contextualizing how blockchain came into existence and in what ways it also at some point met the platform co-op movement, and how these two movements started to nurture each other and grew closer to each other. So hopefully there will be some interesting stuff coming out of that. And yeah, I'll make sure to record it and share it if it's not too bad. There will also be some other. Oh, okay, Steve, you just mentioned you reached out to Nesta, because that's actually something maybe we can quickly move on the agenda, because we are currently really engaged with fundraising, because we know that we need to create additional funds in order to keep our activities going in the future.
Yeah, I've got one other update over and above that, which is the Blockchain Technology Partnership.
Okay, fantastic. So the Nesta thing, because Rashid and we are currently sitting at an application text.
Okay, so from my side, on the Nesta side, I did a little bit of a Google around and checked LinkedIn, and I found Dr. Sue Black, Professor Sue Black, actually. She's at Durham. She was responsible for the preservation of Bletchley Park, where Alan Turing worked. And she's a government advisor, and she's an advisor to Nesta. I've put her LinkedIn. So I think this is the sort of person definitely that you should meet, Ayla, over and above me at some point. So I've reached out to her to see, she did say it's a bit left field, but I gave her a description of how I thought left field could be very intriguing for her. And she's just, from a networking perspective and from an advice to Nesta, that might be a good one to know.
Yeah.
So that was the Nesta side. And then the only other one was, I spoke with a guy called Duncan Johnston-Watt, who's a partner at the Blockchain Technology Partnership, which I posted at the top. They're kind of like Reflective, really, but for permissioned blockchain. So they're focused on Hyperledger at this point. But they are Duncan I've known for many years, as long as I've known, even longer than I've known Greg. And Duncan is intrigued. So I think there's an opportunity for discussion there. So I will be putting him in touch, both with the European Forum, but also with the RChain board, because maybe that's another way to both network and at the same time potentially get funding. And he was in Austin, was Duncan, 2 days ago at an Airbnb with a guy that I think works on an RChain funded project. When I reached out to him, and he nearly fell off his chair. So 2 good links, I think.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. I suggest that Rashid and I are going to send the application through, because there is already a text and we just need to polish it a little bit. I'll send it over to you tomorrow and then we can check it, because we should definitely apply for that one. This would just be right up our alley.
Yeah.
I don't want to miss out on that chance.
Can you send that to me as well, Ella? I'd love to take a peek.
Of course. Yeah, sure. You know what we are talking about, right? So Steve has, no, we haven't put the link here. The link is in the agenda I sent out, but I can just post it again. This is a call by Nesta, and this is about developing a new center for collective intelligence. It's in the UK. It's a super interesting call. It's multidisciplinary, and this is really around governance, around systemic change, process development. So this is really, I would say, this is really our thing. And of course, social and the scaling of social dynamics, social collaboration. So we just try to be part of that as well. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, I'd love to share some new models that I've been working on with you tomorrow. So if we get a chance to chat, that'd be great. That
will be good. Because also Peter and I, through Peter, we got an invite for the revision conference in Berlin, where we will both moderate the session. And I got another invite as well through Anna Blume and Christian Hildebrandt that are running another strand of the conference. So basically be there 2 days. And that's also a great chance, actually, because this is really about human-centric design of technology. And also, again, social coordination is something that plays a key role there. So it seems that there are a lot of opportunities to talk about our activities in RChain in November. Let me see what, yeah. Well, that's basically what we are currently working on. That's what is keeping each of us busy. And I was just wondering, since we also have people here in the chat that are here either for the first time or not so familiar with everything we do, whether you have any question, and yeah, whether you would like to propose something. That's a good moment. No. No. Nothing. Okay. So maybe I'm of course curious. At what time will the general meeting start in the US? This afternoon?
5 a.m. 5 a.m. Sorry, 5 p.m.
5 p.m.
Well, the building is open to the members at 5 p.m. The meeting is not going to start right at 5 p.m. It's more likely to start around 5:30 or thereabouts. Yeah. So.
Okay.
And an FYI, there's the YouTube link has not yet been posted. I was told it'll be posted a couple hours before.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, we'll of course follow the meeting. And I think each of us has voted, so we are really curious about the outcome. And we of course hope you have a great meeting.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. It should be a lot of fun. I mean, one of the things that I can kind of telegraph is if you just lay out the node releases against the market signal, it's very clear that the market signal has nothing to do with the technology. They are completely disconnected. As we provide more and more features, the market signal continues to descend. It's almost a straight line down, even though we're eliminating uncertainty in this regular pattern. So step by step, the node releases are happening, and step by step, the market signal with respect to the token continues to descend. And so one of the things I think is that we should all be thinking about is, how do we help the market see the enormous technological revolution that we've just provided? We have literally provided the only solution that has both scaling in terms of the numbers, the raw numbers, but also scaling in terms of correctness, because it doesn't matter at all if you run really fast and users can produce DAO-like contracts. In fact, it's much more dangerous to run very, very fast if you have the possibility of contracts that are likely to be hacked and drained of their funds. So it seems incumbent upon us as those of us who are sort of within the RChain community to get the word out about the actual proof points of the technology, because the market signal is not tracking the developments in the technology at all. Not even a little bit. And so that's it means that we have to and this is a trend that goes on the entire year and has nothing whatsoever to do with our song or immersion or anything. The trend is absolutely clear that the market signal is disconnected from from the actual technology, and so the community really doesn't understand what's happening with the technology, and we have to get the word out, and we need to think very hard about what will get the word out. Maybe blogging is one way. I don't know. I would have thought that after we demonstrated that we could deliver audio data at scale under load in real time from the chain, that would have been enough of a proof point that people go, oh crap, that's game over.
Yeah, but Greg, what I also think, there's so much rumor out there. There are so many people speculating about what's going on out there. And I mean, if I look at this Reddit article that I got to read yesterday, that was actually written by Dor from Scenario, and Dor is demonstratedly a thief. Because he stole RChain from the people who paid for it. But secondly, you're absolutely right. There are a lot of agents, and we should be grateful for them. There are a lot of agents who want to who want to spread rumor, but we should use those as an opportunity to get the signal out even better. Yeah, exactly. And just to finish my point, because I was a little bit upset about that, because in my opinion, I mean, it's not the only piece of rumor out there. And in my opinion, it's a good moment to come up with a consolidated statement, right? That very clearly shows what the current state of development is. And that could be something that we all could help, spread through our channels. But I think it would just be a good moment to just show some strategic paper that is approved by the entire board that helps bringing an end to speculations, because that is really something, I guess, it's a burden and we are all facing it. So maybe I was already suggesting that yesterday, because I was thinking, no, I mean, we should be the ones to tell the story. and not any speculators out there. But currently,
Yeah,
it seems
I
that
understand, but
people that get hurt, right?
So can
I totally hear you. I think one of the things that is important to understand is that the people who are susceptible to rumor are not really susceptible to a white paper. They're not really susceptible to rational argument. And so what we have to do is, again, we have to think about how we communicate with the different people. I mean, the people who are susceptible to rational argument, they're already going to be convinced by the GitHub commits and the node testing Tuesdays and you know, and the RSong application, the proof application, and the CryptoFX application. These are all things that would convince people who are susceptible to rational arguments. What we have to do is to, and this is what I was trying to say, that the market signal is not rational.
It never is. So I just want to add a little color to what Greg said, because I agree with him. But you all have to realize right now in crypto, across the board, there's a decoupling of news, sentiment, and price. So if you follow all the other projects out there, there is good news for many, many, many projects. Meanwhile, the price keeps dropping since middle of January. And it's, you know, it's just the way it is. You know, you, me, you know, you and me, our investments in Rock or other projects is insignificant to the, what's the almost $300 billion market cap that exists in crypto right now. And basically, big money has left the table, has left the game for now. And so every day I hear great news about all these other projects. Did you know yesterday or the day before, Visa and IBM announced their own blockchain, right? I mean, that's friggin' amazing, right? You would think you would have seen a big spike, right? But the market basically in this long consolidation period. So we can't expect, so we shouldn't even be looking at price because of this decoupling right now between price and news, right? It just doesn't exist. So we could come out with all the great news we want. That in itself is not going to raise the price of Rock.
Can I say something?
Please.
I'm Felix. I'm the founder of Extos, and at the moment based in Italy. I'm a researcher also. I'm studying the ICO phenomena and stuff like that, and funding. I'm really interested in blockchain funding in general. And what I believe now is that projects that have raised funds through ICOs should pay attention to don't short the market by themselves. And that's a big issue because at the moment we have not so many new investors coming in. And if you continue to finance the projects only with the token or mostly with the token, you by yourself will short the market death. And that's a big issue for many projects. And so a way I think that projects should approach now is to find alternative funding methods, like Ela said. You have several methods out there, and maybe also with equity, but that's impossible with a cooperative. So maybe RChain could also think about setting up a profit organization and giving away a bit of equity, for example. Yeah, I don't know what you think about, Greg.
I mean, I'm not sure that this is quite the venue for that discussion, but it would be difficult to say what, since RChain cooperative is a co-op and is for profit. It has a different equity structure. The co-op is not nonprofit, just so that everyone is clear on that point. It is a for-profit cooperative, but but cooperative structures, at least in the U.S., don't give away equity because it's one member, one vote. And I would not know how RChain cooperative could provide another company any sort of value that would be linked to the equity without seriously compromising the members and stakeholders that exist today. But it's a thought. You know, I'm happy to think through the different options. But yeah, but I think that, as Ned is right, that we're going through a consolidation period, and that consolidation period is across the board. Lots and lots of people are experiencing the same kind of issue, and what we need to be doing is finding the kind of message that resonates with the people who are largely involved in constructing that signal, right? We have to find that kind of message, and I'm hopeful that most of that has to do with the attraction of capital via other means and the reinvigoration of what should have been the ICO market. I know we have just a short period of time, so I'll keep this as brief as possible. Most of the ICO market was fueled by really wild speculation, and white papers with nothing behind them. And what we've shown with the RChain platform is that we now have these running design patterns that run at scale. And so very small engineering teams, engineering teams of 2 or 3 people with a month or 2 can get to an MVP. And a real MVP, where you actually have a data market application or a variety of other applications like that are, running directly from the chain at scale. Now that should, and if we can demonstrate that we can flip 1 or 2 of those at fairly high dollar numbers, then I think that will reinvigorate the market. And send the kind of signal that the market is interested in seeing. And I think without those kinds of events, I don't know how to get the message across. But I am wide open to hearing what other people think about this.
I'd like to give a perspective from RChain Asia. We are basically doing our best to ignore the swirling speculations and just sticking to our knitting and building on relationships that we've been cultivating for the past 4 months that I've been here and the past 2 months that Jocelyn has been with us. So we're talking about a team of 2. And from this team of 2, we are now getting invitations from governments to come present RChain to presentations in the middle of industrial parks populated by the largest corporations in those nations. We're forming relationships with governments, exploring possible partnerships in technological innovation. We are being invited to present at a 3,000 person tech summit next month. And our door is literally being knocked and pounded by very interesting companies that want to build on RChain at no cost to RChain. They are already successful companies that have funding, and they may need a small venture capital infusion from partners that we partner with them with. But we are running a lean operation here and getting incredible excitement. So it can be done.
That's inspiring, Jonathan.
And don't forget, we have that MIT hackathon this coming week with Kayvon will be in attendance. I think Dan Connolly will be in attendance. And the hackathon is going to be based around hacking RSong and expanding it. Or, the cool thing with a hackathon is they're going to do something with it that we can't even imagine. And to me, that's where we need to go out and get developers worldwide excited about building cool projects on our platform.
And In a similar vein, in RChain Asia, we've been in communication already with 4 rather large dev pools who are now interested in teaching their devs to build on RChain. So it's that kind of groundwork that it's really going to take, and building the community of developers. So we're trying to do that all. And we're trying to grow RChain strategically, RChain Asia strategically, and also thinking in terms of different ways to structure RChain Asia that may give us more flexibility and more TBD.
Yeah, and I have 2 really hot connections in South America, in Chile. And I also have connections through Central America, and they are chomping at the bit to get involved with blockchain and with us by extension.
Okay, thanks so much. Our time is up. We have one minute left. So we just reached a point where the communication really starts to be very interesting. But I hope we can continue that through different channels, Discord, mail, whatever. I just want to wish everyone in the US Co-op a great meeting today, and lots of success, and have fun. We will follow it via live stream, and I hope I'll see you again next week, same time and same place. Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ella, for conducting the meeting. Thanks to all. Great conversation.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thanks. Bye-bye.